Welcome to episode 163 of Auto Off Topic.
That's a lot auto off topic.
It is a lot of off topic. Hey, you're here again.
Here?
Here.
Different from there.
Different from there.
Last week we said, I'm here, and you were here, because you were there. And now I am here.
It's not even last week. It's the same week we recorded this
Yeah,
show.
nobody knows what's going on, though.
It's the last
It's
episode.
behind the
It's
scenes.
the last episode.
Right.
So
We're
you don't
both in
use-
Phoenix, so this episode we're both in Boston.
You don't use days or weeks. Pro tip.
Last episode.
That's right. But while I was in Phoenix, we did a bunch of car stuff.
We did do a bunch of car stuff, actually.
I think we did almost all the car stuff.
No,
There's more?
No, there's like a ton more museums and stuff that we didn't go to.
Oh, okay.
I think we hit some of the more well-known ones, which is why we did them, because I knew them top of my head without doing any research.
Mhm.
But I've been researching Arizona Car Week for the past couple of days,
Yeah.
trying to decide what weekend works best for people to come hang out, and learned about a bunch more museums that are out there,
Cool.
like the Museum of Open Wheel Racing.
Oh,
Yeah,
that sounds cool.
right? There's a few. There's a fire apparatus museum. There's a police car museum. There's the open wheel racing museum. There's
Oh.
some kind of a drag racing thing. There's all kinds of stuff going on out there.
Well, we went to the big first page of Google hit.
We did. We hit we started with the Penske Museum, right?
Yeah, we tried to go to it last time I was there. We ran out of time.
Yep.
We probably could have squeezed it in, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Knowing what it is now, you know you're definitely going to squeeze it in.
Yeah.
It's not huge, but it's quality.
Yeah. So Roger Penske, not just rental trucks and dealerships for like the last 50 years, has
Yeah,
had race
probably.
teams. A lot of winning race teams and a
Mhm.
lot of very famous drivers.
In like every kind of racing,
Yeah.
except maybe drag racing.
Yeah, I mean his big thing is always been Indy.
Right.
Like he's probably has the most wins in Indy. But they have a lot of sports car wins and
Well,
some
he's also
NASCAR wins.
Always been known for being aligned with Mark Donohue.
Yeah,
So-
Mark Donohue's probably his most famous driver, I would say, of
I
the
don't know.
vintage era, maybe.
Maybe of the older era, sure.
Yeah,
Maybe like the 70s era,
yeah,
because he had like everybody in the
and famous for being aligned with like Sunoco.
Sunoco and I don't know, just everybody.
Yeah,
He's been literally. There's not been a. If most famous race cars, if you've seen them, have some tie to Penske somewhere.
yeah,
So, because he had the, used to be the Sunoco race cars in the 60s and 70s. Then he had the Norton refinishing products race cars in the late 70s and 80s. The Marlboro cars. The Miller Lite NASCARs. Like
oh, the Miller Indy cars.
the Miller Indy cars. The Budweiser Indy cars in the 80s.
Yeah,
And then what was the yellow one? Who was the sponsor on the yellow car?
the yellow Indy car.
Yeah.
That was Miller,
Oh, that was Miller.
It was
Okay.
like-
yeah,
it was like
you're right,
regular
you're right,
Miller.
Yeah.
not Miller Lite, like
The hard stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Miller Heavy. But yeah, so I mean so this museum, I think the lady told us, is only like a
It's a
small
qu-
percentage.
Yeah, it's like a quarter or a fifth of his actual collection.
And they just kind of rotate through
Yeah.
stuff, which is pretty cool, and they keep the really notable stuff.
That keeps it from getting stagnant too.
Yeah.
So.
Like they had right when you walked in, so it's free because it's at his flagship dealerships.
Yeah, it's a way to get people in
It's
the
just
door.
a draw.
Yeah.
But it's very cool. And it's cool event space.
Yeah, it's cooler than like a free bottle of water.
Yeah, exactly. But right when you walked in, there was Mark Donohue's IROC Porsche,
Yeah.
which was super cool. It's like a Carrera RS or something, I think.
I think it's RSR.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So it would have been 73 was the inaugural running of the IROC race.
Yeah.
So before the IROC name was associated with Camaros, it was a Porsche race that was all identical cars. International Race of Champions.
Yeah. Well, it ended up always being a spec race.
Mm-hmm.
Just for the early ones, they were Porsches.
Yeah, the first like 3 or 4 years they were Porsches, and they quickly moved to Camaros in the late 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And then all through the 80s, they were Camaros, I think. There was a Dodge Daytona for a little while.
Yep.
And they went back to Firebirds. So there's been a few different ones over the years.
I don't think they still do it.
I don't think IROC happens anymore, no. But anyway, so the first year was a big deal, and Penske campaigned that Porsche, because everybody did, because it was a spec race driven
Mhm.
by Mark Donohue, and they won 3 out of 4 races, I think.
Yeah.
So they won the championship.
Yep.
So the idea behind IROC, it was the International Race of Champions, and they put drivers from every form of motorsport in identically prepped cars to see who the better drivers were.
Yep.
So there were Formula drivers versus NASCAR drivers versus sports car drivers versus even a couple drag races off and on were involved as well. Some off-road races have done it. It's a pretty neat thing they did for quite a long time.
Well, it was more common then too to have a lot of crossover.
Right.
You'd have like Donahue raced Indy, raced Daytona,
Raced F1.
raced F1,
Yeah.
raced sports cars. So yeah, it's not as segmented as it is today.
So the car that was in the museum is the car that he actually won with the first ever IROC
I think it
race.
was at Riverside,
Riverside in California. Yeah.
the defunct racetrack, Riverside.
But it's a cool car. There's no liveries on them because the early cars
Nope.
they didn't have any liveries, just a driver's name and a number. Those are plain white Porsche.
Yeah, that was really cool.
It was flanked by a modern Indy car and a modern 2015 LMP car.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was a open cockpit Porsche. Actually, I think it was a
Yeah.
13, and it won overall at Sebring. It was an LMP2 car, which is interesting because like
It was
after
the yellow DHL sponsored Porsche.
yeah, so yeah, that's a throwback to DHL, and then because after that, after like 13, I think then 14, 15, like those open cockpit cars kind of went away, and they made them slower
Hmm.
as they went away because they were more dangerous.
Right. They're getting a little ridiculous.
Yeah.
That was like the diesel R10 Audi race car days.
Yeah.
That went to closed cockpit stuff they have now.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the other side of that was the first 200-mile-an-hour car from Indy.
Right.
The Tom Sneva, I think it was 77 Penske race car.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
was
yeah.
the Norton refinishing material sponsored car.
Right. It's got the turbo Cosworth in it.
Yeah, the huge, ridiculous-looking turbo. The interesting thing in the museum is that all of the open-wheel cars, any exposed metal that's on them, like control arms or turbo housings or exhaust, were all polished to like a almost chrome-like finish.
Right.
That was kind of neat. They did that for the become show cars at that point, not race cars.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that she did tell us when we walked in was that every car in the collection runs and drives and could be used tomorrow if it needed to be.
Yeah.
That was kind of neat too.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Nothing gets
What was the spin and win car was there?
the Danny Sullivan car from 85 or 86.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually took a picture of the plaque in front of that to remember what year it was because I knew I was going to forget. But I don't remember watching it live because I would have been like 4, but it's a pretty famous race car. So that was Danny Sullivan. That was the Miller sponsored red car,
Mm-hmm.
like regular Miller.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't take a picture of the front of it. That was not wise of me.
I may have.
Yeah, I think it was 85 or 86, maybe 87, somewhere in the mid 80s. That was the car that he was leading the race into the last lap, and he spun going into the last lap. Managed to keep it off the wall and out of the infield, and then retake the lead and win the race.
That seems insane.
It is insane. That's why it's such a famous race car.
Weird.
So, yeah, that was the Danny Sullivan car. So that was neat. Also, like, splintered around the museum, not splintered, but like scattered around the museum were just engines on engine stands.
Mm-hmm.
Like Mercedes F1 engines, Cosworth F1 engines, IndyCar engines. And what was blowing my mind looking at those was they're mostly V8s,
Yeah.
but they're like 2.6 liter V8s that make 900 horsepower,
Mm-hmm.
naturally aspirated. It's pretty insane to think about that. That a V8, so it's the same displacement as like a Starion Conquest, 2.6 liters,
Mm-hmm.
but double the cylinders and like 10 times the horsepower.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, they're like quad cam and they're methanol fueled.
Not
And,
only the cool sponsored car was menthol powered.
yeah.
No, yeah, they're really neat pieces of engineering, and it's cool to see them just sitting there because they have, like, they look almost like modern 2019 engines, but they're from the 80s.
Yeah.
So that's really cool.
Well, they're cutting edge.
Well, they were, and I'm sure a lot of stuff that was built into those in the 80s is now, to some degree, trickled down to a streetcar you can buy today.
Mm-hmm. And then upstairs they have this cool little like lounge area and a bunch of trophies, like a ton of trophies on display.
Yeah.
So that was super cool. And then we went to.
Well, there's a couple more interesting cars that were downstairs there.
Oh yeah, what was it?
Well, we spent a lot of time talking about the NASCARs
Yeah.
because there were two different NASCARs in like parked side by side, and they were both Dodge NASCARs, but one was a Nationwide Cup, and one was a whatever the other cup is. So it was Nationwide Cup and Sprint Cup.
I think it was Sprint.
No, one was Sprint, one was Nationwide, because one is the used to be Winston Cup, and one used to be Busch Cup, and now there's
Yeah, but it would be Sprint Cup because now it's like Monster Energy Cup.
right. So one car was a Sprint Cup car.
Yeah.
That was the blue Dodge Charger. The Ford is a Charger, right? Charger.
Four-door,
Yep. With the Miller Lite sponsorship.
Right.
But next to that was a Nationwide car, which was a Dodge Challenger.
Yeah.
And we're looking at how their cars are so similar, and there's only like 50 horsepower difference in them. But if you look at the front of the car, like the Nationwide car was more true to what the real car is,
Mm-hmm.
and less aero on the front of the car,
Right.
which makes them significantly slower in the quote-unquote entry-level series to NASCAR, like minor leagues of NASCAR. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
it's weird.
But it was cool to see them sitting there because they were both circle track cars, and they both had like 35 degrees of positive camber in the left front wheels.
Right.
It was really neat to see that, like sitting still. You don't think about that because normally when I see a NASCAR, it's at like a vintage racing event, so it's got
Mhm.
set up for road course, so I don't really see the car sitting still. Not being a huge NASCAR person, it's just something I don't think about, but it's very obvious when you see the car just sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it was Nationwide. Yeah, actually, no, I'm looking at the picture of the car right now. It's the Nationwide series.
Mm-hmm.
So it's Brad Keselowski's Nationwide car.
Yep.
Which was sponsored by Discount Tire.
Oh, there's a couple Indy pace cars, like 2 Corvettes,
Yeah, there were 2 Corvettes and then the 72 442 convertible from
Yeah.
Indy.
which was super cool.
That's my favorite.
Mm-hmm. And then we went to
What museum was next? The Martin Museum?
Martin Museum.
That's a funny one.
That is an interesting museum, and everybody that we told about it that's from there was like, oh yeah, that museum.
I've never been. I know where it is. I drive by it all the time.
Yeah.
I would recommend it, to be honest with you.
It's fun.
Once you get past the kitsch.
Yeah. So it was like a $10 donation per person, which
Yep.
is fine. Fair enough.
It's a privately owned museum,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
gotta keep the lights on somehow.
When you walked in the front, there's
It's a little off-putting because there's a mannequin sitting there.
yeah. So it's like cruise night in a building, kind of.
It's like if you wanted to recreate what it was like going to a car museum in the late 80s.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like it reminded me of going to car museums in the 80s and 90s with my
like
parents.
doo-wop music was playing.
When car museums are like a really big deal,
yeah.
I don't think they are anymore. Like
Not as much
not
anymore.
the like campy ones didn't make it out of the 80s and 90s,
Right.
except for this one. Like only nice ones exist now, like Penske and Lars Anderson and the Peterson.
Yeah.
Like the really high end ones are what survived. Because I feel like there was a lot of auctions of like these car museum cars, like in the last like 15, 20 years.
Yeah, I feel like people died off and like kids were like, I don't want to deal with this.
Yeah. So it's that. So yeah, like you've traveled back to like 1994 and you're going to this car
Yeah.
museum. But when you walked in, there was a cool cutaway of a 62
So
Corvette?
67 Corvette.
67 Corvette.
So the frame was on the ground, like it was a full car.
Yeah.
But then so the frame was on the ground on all 4 wheels, and then it had the body suspended above the car, and then like a quarter of the engine was cut open so you could see the valves and the pistons.
Yeah, it's all color
And
coded.
the battery was cut open so you could see inside the battery, and the fuel tank was cut open so you could see inside the fuel tank. The diff was cut open, the trans was cut open. So it was neat. It was like an educational thing. I don't know if it was from back in the 60s they built it. I can't imagine it was built recently because a 67 Corvette convertible is like a $100,000 car now.
Yeah.
So it was
Oh, it had to be done in like the 70s or 80s or
yeah,
something.
and it was a really nice conditioned car, so it wasn't like it was
Mm.
junk. Like you could paint the yellow frame black and put a good engine in it and probably make a lot of money on the car if
Yeah.
it's not significant for some reason as
Weird.
it is. I don't know if maybe it was used for like promotion for GM back in the 60s, because one thing this particular museum lacked was information.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of information about what was going on with the cars in there. I'd like to look into that car a little bit more because
There was a C4 Lister.
right, which I remember those from like Car and Driver magazine in the 80s and 90s. They were just like almost like body kit cars, pretty much.
Yeah, but it had a lot of performance, didn't it?
Maybe by the 1992 standards, but nothing to like write home about today. So basically, you walked in the museum, and it was like I said, walking into a museum in 1989.
Mm-hmm.
And the two first rows you see, it's literally just all Corvettes and Mustangs, and they're not like super nice. They're just like average 60s and 70s cars, like nothing super outrageous. And then there's like a Model T with inexplicably a mannequin sitting in it dressed like they're going to a 50s sock hop, but it was like a stock Model T.
Mm-hmm.
So like the era was a little bit mixed and it was weird. And there was, like I said, doo-wop music playing in the background, and we're like, all right, this is going to be about a 5-minute trip and we're going to leave. But then you start digging into the museum a little bit further, and that's when things got a little cooler. There was some really neat stuff inside the museum. Like there's a 100-point concourse winning, Cord 810, and then another concourse winning Duesenberg, and there's a few significant customs from in the era, like there's a Barris car, and then there's a real Cobra parked next to an AC Ace, which is the base for the Cobra.
Mm-hmm.
A 68 Z28, which is a super rare car, one of, I think, 3,000 ever built.
Yeah.
There was just a couple of really nice 50s cars. There's a really nice 409 Chevy Impala.
It was
Like
gorgeous.
a 61 Impala 409. Which is probably 62, whatever year it was. But then you had like the prototype for the CTSV.
Yeah.
Just randomly, not on any like special display, just sitting there. So it's basically a CTS that they have put fiberglass flares on when they shoved the V8 in it and put wider tires under it.
Right.
And it had a stock CTS interior with like different inserts in the seats and a full fire suppression system.
All right. So, that Lister car. So the car that's there, there's probably only 2 or 3 in existence, and so that's one of them.
It's kind of neat.
Car got a Vortex supercharged 383 stroker LT1, 500 horsepower.
383 stroker is such an 80s, 90s motor to build, too.
500 horsepower though on a C4.
Yeah.
Still
Still automatic.
Yeah, Brembo brakes. Cost $80,000 when it was new.
In 1992.
Yep.
So that was a lot of money in 92.
Wasn't it?
It's not particularly attractive either. It's like they tried to style it after a 63 Corvette.
Yeah, but it's like ironically cool now. I'm into it.
No, I don't dislike it. I just also don't like it. I do remember the Lister name. They had a few other cars they did back in the time too. They were kind of like a Callaway kind of deal, but much less successful.
Well, they used to build car. It was an English company that
Mhm.
built cars. It's pretty wild looking.
So it's weird that they would do a Corvette.
I don't know.
I don't know. I like to see it come out to a Radwood.
Yeah.
Like if we ever happen, if there's ever a Radwood near like Scottsdale, Phoenix area, then we'll have to reach out to this museum to get that car there.
Oh, and they had that Oldsmobile Land Speed Record car.
Pontiac.
Pontiac.
It was a Pontiac Bonneville racer.
Yeah.
So Pontiac Bonneville.
With the rad graphics on it.
It was super rad era looking graphics on it. It was,
Yeah.
but it's from 2000, and that body style came out in 2000, so it's not technically okay.
Yeah. All right.
It's like questionable, but it's a 200 mile an hour Pontiac Bonneville.
Mm-hmm.
Like that shouldn't exist.
So the museum has like a lot of nice stuff in it,
It really does. Yeah.
and then it's like got some clutter of stuff that like is just
the
like
weird thing to me
run
was
of the mill collectibles that aren't really collectibles.
the mannequins in the cars were kind of weird
Yeah.
because they had mannequins in a couple of cars.
Like a real Ed Roth car, and then that weird clown
It had
mannequin
it
in
had a
it.
clown mannequin inside of it. Yeah. And then, very typical also of the 80s style car museum, they had like a reproduction of like a 50s style like diner.
Yeah.
And that was like, okay, this is cheesy. But it's enclosed 100% behind
Yeah.
glass because God forbid you touch it. But then on the counter is like a Jeff Gordon NASCAR toy,
Yeah.
but like toy, like not like collectible, but it's there like behind glass. And then the guy serving you your drinks at your 50s diner is like a 6 foot tall gorilla. Like
Yeah.
I don't understand what's going on with some of the stuff in there. Like it's supposed to be also like kitschy for the kids, or
I don't know. It you should go anyways, but it's worth a half day.
it's worth the $10 donation. It's
Yeah.
not even worth a half day. It's worth an hour or so.
Yeah.
It's worth seeing. It's worth supporting it because it exists, and I'd like to see it continue existing. If you're driving through Phoenix on I-17, you can't miss it because it's right off the highway, and there's a giant like 1985 Mack pumper truck parked out front.
Yeah.
So it's pretty easy to see it.
I think that was. Oh, and then we went to
That was the end of that day.
no, because in the afternoon of that day, we went to SoCal Speed Shop, Arizona.
Oh yeah, we did do that too.
I almost forgot to put that down. Which is the only one outside of California? 'Cause
Well, there's only two.
There's only two.
Yeah, there's one in Southern California, and
Yeah.
then there's a sister shop to it there in Phoenix.
Which this place completely blew my mind because it's a retail store where you can buy hot rod parts and restoration parts.
Yeah. And used parts for like 32 Fords.
I mean, they mostly specialize in, it says outside, like Ford and Chevy parts, but
Right.
I'm sure they can order you whatever you need.
Whatever you're working on, they can help you out. They're a true speed shop.
They seemed really knowledgeable. Like, people were asking them stuff, and the guy's like, oh, yeah, that's over here, and like,
right.
oh, no, we don't have those, or they haven't come out with them yet, or...
Well, you walk right into the store, and the first thing you see, other than like the SoCal Speed Shop merch,
Yeah.
Which is tons of because there's a huge history with that company, is like the vintage air kits.
Yeah.
Like you can walk into the store, and on the shelf buy a full retrofit air conditioning for a '64 Nova or a '46 Ford or whatever. It's neat that exists in 2019.
Yeah.
Like one of the things that blew my mind, like you turn a corner and it's all taillights, like reproduction taillights. It's like if I asked you before you went to the store if there was a store that existed in 2019 where you can walk in and buy a brand new 51 Chevy taillight without having to order it,
Yeah.
would you believe me?
No.
Like, and then there it is.
Yeah.
They have them on the shelf. They have an entire like section devoted to 60s Mustangs, entire section devoted to 60s Camaros. Then they have an entire section devoted to like the traditional 32 Ford style hot rod. And they have the cool kitschy stuff like 8-ball shift knobs and
Yeah.
Hula Girl, door lock pins and
Yeah, right. And then they're also super nice.
well, that's just the difference that you're not used to is that you're not in Boston anymore. And when you get outside of the Northeast, most people are pretty nice.
I guess. Yeah, I guess. I mean, they're just super nice about it. And they, like, 3 or 4 of the workers were like, did you guys go out back? Look at the stuff we have out back. We have cars for sale out there. And, like, there's, like, a whole shop out
Parts
there
and-
you can go look at. We're like, okay, cool. And, like, somebody else tells the same thing. We're like,
Yeah.
all right, we're
You
cool.
get relief. He's like, before you leave, make sure you go out back.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, guys, we'll go out back.
Yeah,
Jesus.
I just want to buy a hat first, and then
Yeah.
we'll go look. And yeah, and Outback was really cool. There was a couple cars for sale,
Mhm.
and like the whole shop out there. Oh, and the SoCal Speedster was out there.
Not the famous one, like another one they have.
Okay.
Because the famous one is the Pearson Brothers Coupe,
Oh, right.
the one that has like the super big chop and the track T
Yeah.
nose.
Which I think we saw at the Peterson. I think
it
that's
was
where it
in
is.
the Peterson. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the SoCal. Like, that's their hot rod.
Yeah.
That's what they're famous for. Is that particular car?
Well, this was like a high boy or something.
It was a 32 Highboy.
Yeah, it was cool
It was a very traditional looking car, but it was also really good looking, like very traditional, perfect stance, perfect everything, perfect paint, but it was also driven.
Yeah.
Like there was a hole worn through the carpet where the person's heel goes. So it's like it's cool to actually use that car too.
Yeah.
But they have a whole setup out back there where they have a lift and they're working on installing their parts on an old I think was it a Nova or Chevelle? Chevelle. 66 Chevelle. So it's neat that they install all these parts and try all these parts and make sure they actually work in cars.
Yeah,
So I think they might have a YouTube channel, which I forgot to look up afterwards.
probably.
I think they do videos of building that car back there.
Yeah,
I could be wrong.
that's worth
But-
checking out.
100%. And every second Saturday from 8 to 12, they have a hot rod show there.
That sounds cool.
So that's definitely worth checking out.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, that would be this Saturday.
Yeah, but they're probably doing it in 2 Saturdays after.
Yeah, it's every second Saturday of the month. So I'm just saying I'm not going to be able to go this time.
Yeah, but I'm sure you can go in November because the weather will still be nice.
Yes, because the weather does not get ugly there.
Yeah, that was all we did on Friday, but that was a lot.
Yeah, it really was.
And then it turned out like it was funny because in the afternoon I kind of wanted a coffee, and I was looking up coffee places, and I remembered 4 till 4, but they close at like noontime on a Friday,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, all right, whatever. And then something reminded us that they're having their Cars and Coffee Saturday morning,
That's true.
so we went over there, and 4 till 4 is like a Porsche centric coffee shop in where is it? Scottsdale, Old Town.
It's in Old Town Scottsdale. Well, as we were told, the reason it's called 4 till 4
Mm-hmm.
is
I
because
figured it had something to do with a Porsche.
yeah, what time is 4 till 4?
It's a 356.
3:56. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Without being 356 coffee.
right, and their shop car is like a very patinaed, cool-looking 356.
Mm-hmm.
Just a big number 4 on the door that was parked out front.
Oh yeah, I meant to tell you on I think it was Sunday. I saw a guy towing. We were driving somewhere out there. A early 356 because it was a Continental Coupe in maroon on a trailer.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Yeah, so it was like first year. And but anyway, yeah, we went to 4 till 4 and Angry Bird GTI. Chris Cavalieri met us there.
Yep.
And it was like super cool.
It was a very low-key like Porsche event.
Yeah, but there was like a bunch of RX-7s and then Porsches
Yeah,
and the Sapporo.
and BMW 2002.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because I drove past the thing and I was like, I felt kind of bad.
I was like, no, go park there.
Parking a non-Porsche in the Porsche Cars and Coffee, but and then I parked it, and then immediately like people came over and started talking to me, and I was expecting them to be like, get that thing out of here, but the guy's like, dude, it's a public street, like you can park here, it's
And also-
totally fine.
We weren't like there first thing. We're there like an hour into it, and that
Yep.
spot was open. So fair game.
Yeah. Well, I just felt bad for a minute, and then realized that like, I don't know, I just maybe it's the whole like I don't have a Porsche, so I don't like have the high end vehicle, but
Well, maybe it was because there was a Singer-esque Porsche that was parked there, and you didn't want to park
well,
next to
maybe
it.
it's because I parked next to that. The open spot was next to Patrick Motorsports,
Yeah.
backdated 75 to look like a 73 RS with a 993 twin turbo driveline
Yes.
and like hand woven leather interior.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely was bringing the value of the whole show down by rolling up and parking there.
That
But
car was awesome.
but again, to the point of the guy who was like, "Hey, no, it's cool. It's a public street. Just park here." He's like, "It doesn't matter. Like as long as you're here, having a good time, enjoying the same thing we're enjoying, like it's fine. You're not here trying to be something you're not. So just come enjoy yourself."
I mean, if you rolled up with a Kia SUV and parked it there, people would have been like,
But they couldn't. But like he said, it's a public street.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they can't close the street off. So you're just here to get a coffee. You happen to be here during the Porsche
Yeah.
show. Great. Your car's old and somewhat interesting, even though it's an old crap can that's pulled out of a junkyard. That's not a Porsche. Whatever. It's cool. So I don't know. I felt a little awkward at first, and I kept like looking back and making sure people weren't like shunning me or putting holes in
No.
my tires or whatever.
No, you're fine. No. That Patrick Motorsports car was gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah. Well, I didn't really know what Patrick Motorsports was. They're a shop that's based out of Arizona, based out of Phoenix,
Yeah.
and I drive by it all the time. But there's never any cars out front.
Keep everything inside.
They keep everything inside apparently. Because looking at their Instagram after the fact, like they do a lot of vintage race car prep and a lot of hot
Mhm.
rod builds, and it's like really neat stuff. And I drive by it every day. I didn't
Yeah.
even know it.
This car had a woven leather interior that
Yep.
looked like
Big form houndstooth.
yeah,
Large
but
form
it's like
houndstooth.
but the weaving was almost like wicker.
Yep.
It looked like wicker. but
Yeah, it was like
leather.
3mm wide strips of different color leather to create
Yeah.
the pattern.
Yeah.
It obviously took a long time to do.
Yeah.
And what was neat was when we posted the picture of it on our Instagram page, the guy who actually created the interior was interacting with people on our page. So that was
Mhm.
kind of neat.
Gorgeous, gorgeous car.
Ridiculous.
And of course there was like a couple of really cool there was a 964 that was really cool and BBSs. I don't know if they were BBS Le Mans, but they were BBS
Mhm.
mesh
Yeah,
wheels.
they were Lamas.
Um, Then probably the cleanest second gen RX-7 I've seen in a while.
Yeah.
That
Full
was
hot
like
rod too.
super modified, like super well modified too.
Yeah, like it fit right in with a bunch of Porsches.
Yeah. I mean, it had like liquid to air intercooler and water meth injection.
Yeah.
It probably made ridiculous power.
Not menthol injection.
No.
All right, just checking.
And then what else was? Oh, there was a cool.
914.6 just
Yeah.
casually parked up. We kind of dismissed it. We're all standing next to it talking about something else, and then kind of noticed the twin carb setup. It's like, wait a second, I think that's a 6.
And then, the 944 with the mint BBS wheels on it.
RSs.
The RSs. That was on the Patrick Motorsports feed. Like those wheels were just restored or something.
Yeah,
or,
the guy works there, I think.
Yeah,
at
yeah.
Sports, yeah.
So
Or
super cool.
or was it the guy?
Or was
no,
the
it
guy that
wasn't.
did the interior?
No, he had the blue 944 that was there. So it wasn't him. But anyway, it was a really neat show, and the coffee was also really good.
Yeah, the coffee's really good. It's a cool little
And
spot.
it's not expensive either.
No.
Like, I was a little nervous that it was going to be super overpriced because it's a Porsche-themed coffee shop, and it's in, like, the super high-rent district of
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Scottsdale. But it wasn't. I got a small iced coffee, and you had a
double
espresso, and it was, like, $7 total.
Yeah.
It's not terrible. I mean, it's more than it would cost at Dunkin' Donuts, but it's not super expensive, so I'm into it.
No, it's very cool. Very, very cool.
Yeah,
I
it's a
would-
cool spot. I don't know if they do it every Saturday or every other, maybe.
Probably once a month, maybe.
Once a month. It was Sunday or Saturday? It was Saturday, right? Yeah, Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll check it out. They have their Instagram page is just 4 till 4 Coffee Co., I think.
Yeah.
And it's all listed there. You can check their website. And actually, I signed up for their email list, so I'll know when the next show is. So I can be more prepared to go down and maybe bring a proper camera and not bring my Sapporo.
Whatever.
Yeah, I could. I don't have a Porsche, so it is what it is.
So then it was Saturday. We did our family thing, and then we went out you took me to the pavilions that you told me about.
So it's the McDonald's rock and roll car show,
Yeah.
which sounds like something that we would not be into.
I just can't imagine. It was hot that day, and I can't
Yep.
imagine posting up at 3 in the afternoon there
Right.
and hanging out for a couple hours because it wasn't a shady parking lot.
There's no shade there.
There's no shade.
No. So the McDonald's in Scottsdale there puts on this show, and they have been for like 35 years.
Well, I thought it was on the Indian reservation part.
It's still Scottsdale though.
Okay.
Yeah. It's the part of the town that is Indian reservations. So
Okay.
all the police were all reservation police.
Yeah.
Which means don't screw around because their laws, their punishments are a little harsher because they can create their own laws because their own land. So
Yeah.
they're pretty cool as long as you're not a total dick. Like if you start pulling out of there and doing burnouts and drag racing, you're gonna get your car impounded and it's gonna cost you a lot of money to get it back. That's just how it works. But so it's been going on in this place for 30 some odd years. Obviously the parking lot's built up around it over the years.
Yeah.
It's all a lot of big restaurants and like chain kind of places, Target in the parking lot and stuff now, but they still hold the show. It's a revolving car show kind of. Like there's no set time exactly, and there's no structure beyond. They try to structure the parking a little bit, but even
Seems
that,
like at the beginning, and then it just kind of.
it's kind of an honor system thing anyway. There's no like telling you where to park. It's just they have sandwich boards in each row suggesting what should go in that row. Like, oh, this row is for all Corvettes. This row is for pre-75. This row is for pre-75 imports.
Mm-hmm.
This row is for motorcycles. And people kind of sort of police it themselves. Because people are gonna want to kind of park with people who are like them, I guess. Yeah. So it's kind of cool it happens, but people start showing up there at 3 in the afternoon, and then they'll stay until they're done and they'll leave, and then that spot will stay empty for 30 seconds, and another car will roll in and take their spot. So this goes on until 9:30, 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Where from 3 till 10 o'clock at night, it's just you could walk the show 30 times and see something new every time.
Sundown seemed like it was like the perfect time to show up.
Right.
Because it's just not. It's like just starting to get cool because
Right.
the sun's going down. The light was like super cool.
The light is always cool because that's how the sunsets are in Arizona.
Yeah.
Like,
there's a picture of it on our Instagram, and then like there's still a bunch of cool
Old stuff.
old stuff,
Yep.
and then the new stuff is starting to roll in.
So what seems to happen is it seems to be earlier in the day. It's an older crowd,
Mhm.
and the older crowd is going to be more into the traditional hot rod, the 55 Chevy, the 65. So from like 32 Ford to like a 65 Mustang.
There was still a lot of that after dark.
Oh,
so-
100%. I'm not saying it's all it is, but I'm
Yeah.
saying that's like when more of those are there early. And then as the day gets on, those guys will leave, and the 57 Chevy spot might be taken over by a 77 Trans Am.
yeah.
And then later on in the day, that 77 Trans Am will leave, and the spot will be taken over by a 2005 Corvette. So it just kind of seems to get newer stuff as the night goes on, because the crowd gets younger. And then by the end of the night, there'll be a lot of like new Chargers, new Challengers. Some really nicely built Hondas were there.
I've never seen so many Ellis swapped trucks.
Yeah, like square body Chevys.
Yeah, like Ellis
every
turbos.
every other vehicle. Yeah, or like big block turbo swapped
Mm-hmm.
70s Chevy pickups. It was a wild amount of cool stuff there. I was actually a little bit disappointed that there was not as much JDM stuff there as normally there is.
There's some cool stuff.
There was. I mean, actual JDM, like imported from Japan JDM. Last time I was there,
The white Civic.
there was that really nice white Civic. Yep. But last time I was there were probably 15 to 20 of them that weren't together. They just all happened to show up.
It's luck of the draw.
Yeah, no, and again, it's a different crowd every single time. And I've only been there for a few months myself, but this is probably my 5th or 6th time over the past few years going to the show. And, there's some stuff obviously the same every time, but there's some serious variety every time, and it's great to see.
I thought it was cool as hell because like here, cruise nights have kind of like died out.
Yep. This reminds me a lot of an old style cruise night here.
Yeah, like it used to be. Like cruise nights here now, guys will start showing up at 3, especially in the summertime,
Right.
and then they're out by 6 o'clock.
Which is
Parking lot's
weird
empty.
because you'd think that most people had jobs, but they don't apparently.
And
It's all retired guys.
And it doesn't get dark until like 9 p.m. in the middle of summer here.
Yep.
And like everybody clears out, and there's like no one there.
Right.
And like
By like 7, everybody's gone.
the cars are just kind of like meh.
I remember when I was a kid going to the same Wednesday night car show that we have now. It was in a different location, but it was the same basic show.
Yeah.
And I remember being there until like super late at night with huge crowds.
Yeah.
And now it just doesn't happen anymore.
I don't know what happened around here. But like this cruise night is more in the vein of like the way this Pavilions one is more. I mean, it's been going much longer than in any Cars and Coffee because Cars and Coffees are only like within the last 15 years.
Not even that long, I don't think. Yeah.
Probably 2008 was the first time I heard of one.
Yeah.
So, it's like more of it's like that
It's that
theme.
super casual vibe.
Yeah. So like
Yep.
it's just like bring whatever you want. Nobody's at the gate like taking donations and judging you
Right.
and not letting you in.
Like there was everything there from like that JDM imported EF hatch to
Yeah.
6-wheeled turbo diesel like deuce and a half overland camper.
Yeah.
Like and everything in between.
And that's probably why this show has lasted 30 years and is still going pretty strong
Right.
because they just let whatever in.
Right.
Whereas you have cruise nights around here,
They let anybody in, but
they do, but more recently they're more open to it.
yeah.
For a long time, it was like
I guess it wasn't that long ago where I was told not to go to one because my car was too new.
yeah, if you didn't have anything that was older than 75, they didn't want you at the cruise night. So that was like a hard rule around here.
Well, it was over 75 or a Mustang Camaro Corvette.
Yeah, special interest, right?
Yeah. Which then they determined what special interest was.
Mm-hmm.
Which is the same way that the Scottsdale Cars and Coffee is now.
Yeah. So that's where this is more like reminds me more of like a Cars and Coffee, but it's at night.
Yep. It's like Wild West of car shows. Roll in, roll out. Do what
But-
you want to do.
But this makes sense for Arizona. You either have your car shows very early in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
Cars and Coffee, or you have them.
Well, especially
sun
in
goes
the
down.
summer time.
Yeah.
Yeah. As it gets closer to winter time, it'll be, 75 degrees midday, and that'll be fine.
But like, we were talking about this the other day. This more goes with like the shows. Like there's still some weekend shows, and they give out like trophies, but I don't really find myself going to car shows specifically.
Right.
Like I'm more interested just to go to a Cars and Coffee that happens.
Hang out for a little bit,
once a
then go
month.
do your thing.
Yeah, because it's like more. There's less committal. It's more casual, and that's kind of the way I think people just feel these days. Anyways, you just kind of. I can either show up on this Sunday
Right.
for Cars and Coffee, or wait, I'm busy. Oh, there's another one in
20
a month.
miles the other way.
Yeah, or there's,
next week,
there's
yeah.
another one next week, or the same one is in a month, and I'll just
Yep.
go to it then. Like it's no big deal.
Right. I think the problem that I've noticed with car shows here is you have the casual Wednesday night crowd show, you have the Saturday morning
Yeah.
Cars and Coffee show, and then you can show up at this car show at 10 a.m., pay $30 to enter, sit there all day long
Till 3
waiting to
o'clock.
find out when the trophies are going to be so you can see if your car won a trophy for being a better car than the car next to you. And that has its place, I think, in a specialty show. Like if you have an all Camaro show, or I went to JCCS for the all Japanese car show, or you have, a reason for that kind of show. I think it's okay, but I think just the casual, like, first through third Chevrolet, first through third Ford pre-75, first through third Ford post-75, like, and you wind up having these car shows that have 28 trophies, 35 trophies. It's like, what is going on?
Yeah,
right
and they're
now?
not a concourse
You have
show.
35 trophies and you have 65 cars. Like, everybody gets a trophy? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, they don't have any. There's no weight to it. It's not like a.
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Whereas you go to JCCS, and it's a very special show. It's not a concourse, but it's not just Joe's barbecue and foot massage car show. It's like, hey, we have this specialty event, or we have an event we were talking earlier about, like, Lars Anderson has theme days, and those
Yeah.
carry a little weight because it's a Lars Anderson show. Your car won a trophy at the,
The best local
the,
car
the
museum,
best
right?
car museum around here. It's not a concourse, but it's also not, Jeff's hot dog stand car show.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's just why I think that the cruise nights just kind of died out around here. It's just not. People just aren't into them anymore.
Yeah,
They
I
got
don't
tired
understand.
of it.
also, it rains here every Wednesday night. Seems to be the theme.
The last
So,
couple weeks.
Like we're here on a Wednesday again
Yeah.
tonight. We're gonna go, but no, it's raining, so we're here.
Yeah, and I did miss the. I guess there is a big one near Foxborough.
Yep.
And I've been told it's very good. I've seen pictures from it. It does look very good.
Right.
And we tried to go to it, or our other friend and I tried to go, and it, of course, rained.
It
But we
rained.
went anyways because we thought maybe there'd be some cars there. But it rained so much there was like 2 cars there.
Right.
But it is what it is. I'll try to get to it next year earlier. So there is still some good cruise nights, but it's just like. Also that cruise night is of the same idea as the pavilions, where you just show up with
Yep.
something. It doesn't matter.
less
It's just-
structured.
it's less structured, and I think that's what people need is less structure to just show up.
Mm-hmm.
Makes it easier.
A big open parking lot that doesn't have like one entrance in and one exit out too probably helps. 'Cause
Yeah.
I think it's one of the things that the Wednesday night show has here. Like, you have to wait in line to get in, and then there's a person taking donations when you get in for Dare, which isn't a big deal. Like, yeah, it's gonna support a cause, but at the same time, it's like, I don't want to wait in line and have to pay this guy and then deal with driving through all the people that are sitting right there watching all the cars enter. And I know in my personal experience, I've rolled in like a Dodge Colt, and some old guy that's there is like, what is that shitbox doing here? And it's like, I don't want to deal with that.
You're like, well, I wanted to give my dollar to Dare,
Yeah.
and drive my car in here, so.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's our opinion on
Car shows.
car shows and Cars and
Yeah.
Coffee, I guess.
I will never not enjoy a car show. Most times I don't want to commit myself to a full day event for a car show
I just don't want
unless it's a special show like JCCS or a museum show or Radwood or, I don't know, something that has something going on more to it than just a bunch of people sitting in lawn chairs behind
Mhm.
their cars waiting to win a plastic trophy.
Which, real quick, this episode will drop before Radwood Boston.
That's this weekend.
It is the weekend after this
Saturday.
episode drops, October 12th.
Yeah.
It is rain or shine. If you're listening to this,
So I was sitting at
Before
my
the event.
house before we left here. Oh, not my house. 'Cause
it
I'm
is
not
rain or
home.
shine.
I was sitting at my parents' house watching the weather,
I also watched it.
and it's
We're gonna hope that this storm pushes out. It's a northeaster.
they
a
said
nor'easter.
that south of Boston will have some really heavy rains Friday night into early Saturday morning. But then it should be clearing up as far as the actual rain goes.
We've got
Saturday,
2 days for it to move on out.
which it's New England. It's going to change.
We're hoping. So, yeah. It's rain or shine.
Yep.
Come on down. We don't
have
care.
a good time.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Bring like those clear umbrellas that people used to have,
Right. And some like rubber galoshes.
and like find some 80s ponchos or something
Yeah.
if you really need it. But
We got to find some galoshes.
sure.
Yeah. Hopefully not. You know, I'm not going to buy galoshes because I
No.
don't want to need. I don't want to need them.
Yeah.
Or I will buy them, so it guarantees it doesn't rain.
Sure.
That's how it works.
I know I'm probably going to end up washing my cars in the rain and then put them in the garage and dry them off.
Yep.
Because that's my only choice.
I need to finish painting my car, so
Oh.
I'll do that in the rain. No, I
So-
won't.
So, as far as part of car updates, did you get the correct paint color for that car
I did.
today? Okay.
So
Did you bring the car to the place?
I did.
And they were like, what?
So I brought the car.
Did they do anything for you?
I
'Cause
also
it was a while ago.
brought both cans of paint in.
Yeah.
And I told her my story. I think I told the story on the podcast about the paint not matching.
Yeah.
So I showed her the paint not that I showed her like the two labels and how one had a different number than the other one had, and she got very argumentative and told me that it was just how it works. Two cans of paint are gonna look different, and I was like, I understand. It's mixed by humans, and there's like a slight variance. I said, but I'm from the industry. I understand how this works, but we also have what we call a blendable match.
Yeah.
Like, it's close enough that if we blend it to an adjacent panel, you won't notice the difference. I'm not blending this car, so I know it's not going to be perfect. The problem is this is a completely different color.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, these formulas are the same. I was like, that's fine. The formulas might be the same. Even if those numbers are different, she showed me how they both are like a different version of the same number. I was like, that's fine. But the paint in the can is very different. And she's arguing with me about it, and like, I was like, listen, the car's outside. Do you want to look at it? She's like, no, because it doesn't matter. You should have bought it at the same time. And I was like, no. It's a different color. Like, it's bright orange. It's not red at all.
What if the car was in another accident and you needed to paint the panel?
I don't know, whatever. So I finally like get her to look at the car, and she's like, oh, that's really wrong. And I was like, yeah, it's not even like a different variant of the same color. It's a completely different color. Like, the car is red. My door is now orange. And she's like, well, you painted the whole door. I'm like, yeah, because I had the whole car taped off. And all I could see was that panel I was painting. So it looks red by itself until you take the tape off. And then it's like, why is my door orange now?
Yeah.
So she's like, yeah, I see that. I was like, yeah, I was pretty damn pissed because I put a ton of effort into it. And it came out really nice, just the wrong color. So now I either need to paint the whole rest of the car orange or fix this door. And she's like, oh, all right, let me see what I can do. So I had both cans of spray paint with me.
Yeah.
So we sprayed some of each. Like, I had the original can I bought and the second can I bought. So we sprayed it on like a little thing right there. And then she mixed it and matched it to the can that I bought the first time.
Yeah.
So it'll be the same color.
All right.
So and she gave me the can for free. She didn't.
Oh,
charge
that
me
was
for it.
nice.
Well, I mean, it's a $40 can of spray
Yeah,
paint.
but-
Like, I didn't get a $5 can of Krylon. Like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
went to the specific place to have them mix the color
'Cause it
that
did
I
come out
wanted.
nice.
And the first color that I got was perfect. So I was like, oh, I should get another can of this and just do the top of the door, because now the top of the door looks really bad. So obviously I opened a can of worms. I did that, and this whole thing happened. But so now I have the right color. I'm going to have to improvise somehow on painting it because it's going to rain all week. I'll have to paint it indoors probably in my storage garage. But whatever. We'll get to it. We get to it. Which will
Yeah.
be tomorrow, actually.
Yeah, you better do that.
I have to do it tomorrow because tomorrow, then Friday, then Redwood.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to still put the whole cart together on Friday after I paint it tomorrow. So,
Hey, you better get cracking tomorrow morning.
100%. Yeah, I'm going to immediately drive to Haverhill and start working on it. So, but I have the paint. She gave me the paint. I did purchase another can of clear because I was like, whatever, I'll buy the clear. It's like $10.
Yeah.
I don't want to like piss her off because she made the paint for me the first time, and the second time, I think like she realized that she made a mistake and she felt bad.
Yeah.
But at first she was like, and you know what? Maybe in her defense, she probably deals with people all the time that are like, you made this paint code for me and it doesn't match the faded paint on my
Yeah.
85 Corsica, you know? So, but I wasn't doing that. I was like, no, you made a can of paint and then you made a second can of paint, and the second can of paint doesn't match the first can of paint.
Yeah.
It's very simple what happened here.
Yeah.
So, and she was very nice about it afterwards. Like I said, she just gave me the can. She's like, "Don't worry about it." So,
All right. Cool.
hopefully, it'll be fingers crossed it'll be done. Also, I got a package from Germany for that car.
Oh, it finally came?
Finally came. It's been in customs for 3 weeks and it showed up today.
Oh, here.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
I had it shipped here because the car was here. So obviously that's a European market Eclipse,
Yeah.
and it has a hairline crack in one of the taillights, which is one of the European feature parts.
Yeah.
It has a crack in one of the vents in front of the headlights, which is a European feature part. And it was missing the fog light bezel on the passenger side, which is a European only part. Friend of the show, Bodo Engemann,
Yeah.
lives in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
He's really big in the Mitsu community there.
Mm-hmm.
He put the word out with the local Eclipse Mitsubishi community in Germany, and they were like, "Oh, there's a German market car driving around in America that's being restored." And he's like, "Yeah." They're like, well, "That's really cool. Here's all the parts he needs for free."
Cool.
Yeah. So I got everything I needed.
Are you gonna
And,
fix the frowny face bumper?
That's the last priority because it doesn't affect the car.
Definitely try to do it once you get everything put back together and you're like
Well,
cleaning the car.
yes, I would love to, but it's the final priority. Maybe if you want to swing by and help me with that, we can get that
We'll see.
knocked out real quick. So, but
I do want to clean my cars.
well, absolutely. I'm not telling you not to do your cars. I'm just saying I might need a hand taking that apart and doing that just because I might have to take part of the bumper apart to fix it. So, I'm not going to touch it until everything else in the car is done.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to, as you talk about all the time, project creep.
Yeah.
So here I am trying to put this car together for the show in 3 days, and I'm taking the car further apart instead of putting it together. So if I get the whole car together and I have time, I'll fix that bumper now. If not, que sera, sera.
All right. So speaking of project creep, lots of corrosion on the Subaru.
Lots of corrosion.
As,
It's pretty
expected.
ugly.
Yeah, I started to pull it apart.
Here's what's weird to me about that car in general. Maybe it's because all my cars have always been such leaky pieces of shit that I haven't noticed things rusting like your car's rusting. But there's so much like metal stuff under the hood that's rotting away in that car
Yeah.
at once.
And it did leak stuff, but our friend Keith that owned it would fix the leaks, and then I also fixed the leaks.
Well, not everybody's a dirtbag like me.
Yeah.
And maybe it's better that I am a dirtbag because my car's never rusted apart like that.
Yeah. So I moved, I didn't take the intake off yet, but I unhooked a bunch of stuff. Moved the AC compressor over without disconnecting it because I want to keep the AC does work.
Right.
Move the power steering over. Hopefully it doesn't need power steering lines when I'm done because that power steering line was already replaced once.
Yeah, that one should be okay.
Yeah. Well, we did a similar job on Jordan's STI and we disturbed it and then it needed a power steering line. So
But his was original though too.
yeah.
So-
Well, this one's not. This one looks original. It matches the
not.
rest of the engine. Pulled the radiator out that was leaking.
Mhm.
Looks like it was been on the Titanic.
Yep. That's why it was leaking.
Yeah.
It was rotting from the outside.
Because it's like an aluminum core clamped with steel.
So it's aluminum and plastic, but what attaches the aluminum and plastic is steel.
Yeah.
So it's just so you have uncommon materials touching each other, so that causes corrosion
Yep.
plus the salt. So
Yep.
It's not good.
And
It's not good.
I don't know.
That's that car's like third or fourth radiator.
Yeah, I don't know if Keith was exaggerating. He saw the picture and commented on it. He's like, "That's like the third radiator in that
Yeah.
car," which I remember one time the radiator let go, and then
Actually, I think I do remember both times because it went to the same shop both
Yeah.
times.
whatever.
Yep.
Just get it taken care of. I just been picking at it in between doing other stuff because I don't quite need the car yet. So
Right. We have at least another 3 or 4 weeks before you got to worry about a winter car.
Well, it's
here.
not going to take me that long. But
Yeah. That's what I'm saying, but you have the time. You
that's why I
have
started now.
Yeah, you have another 3 or 4 weeks before you got to worry about needing the winter car. We don't need it yet.
Yeah.
We're going to need it.
Oh, this is a fun thing. So yeah, I'm looking at stuff, and the heater hoses look kind of crappy. So I'm like, well, I might as well do those because those are under the intercooler,
Mhm.
and I'll be using the heat in the winter, and that's when those will let go. Because
Of course it will.
I've keep fixing leaks in the cooling system, and then it finds another weak spot, and it will find
Yeah,
those is
every
the weak
time
spot.
you fix a new or an old hose, the
Yeah.
pressure moves to the next weakest link.
Yeah.
So they're all worn out from 2004.
So there's you ever worked on a Subaru before? There's a crossover pipe between the two heads for coolant.
Yep.
And then
Or just like any V-shaped engine or boxer-shaped engine.
And then there is a metal pipe that comes off this aluminum crossover pipe that goes to the heater hose.
Mm-hmm.
And it bolts onto the aluminum. So I'm like, all right, I need to get that. So I'm looking through the online parts catalog for Subaru, because you can order your parts online and get them cheaper. Then they'll ship to a local dealer. So I'm looking for it. I can't find it. What the hell? And then I finally look up, like, I click on the picture for this crossover pipe. It has that steel, like the steel pipe is bolted to it.
In the picture.
In the picture.
So it's only available as one unit.
One piece. $300 new.
Even though it's clearly two pieces.
I was like, no.
Yeah.
So I quickly went on eBay and found a nice non-corroded used one
From like Texas.
from Oregon,
okay.
land of Subarus, non-rusty Subarus, because they don't use salt, for $35.
Perfect.
Free shipping.
Just move the decimal point over one place.
Yeah.
I like it.
So that'll have to go on. I ordered the seals for it. That's under the intake, which is fine because the intake has to come off. And then I vacuumed. There's a bunch of those propeller things that fall off trees. They're all in the engine somehow.
Maple tree seeds, I think.
They must go in the hood scoop and then somehow land on top of the engine.
Yeah, more than likely. Oh, they also come down in through the cowl. And you get into the
But there's
engine bay.
a gasket there.
Yeah.
I vacuumed it all out. So
they come up from the bottom probably too, because when you're driving the car down the roads, the
knows?
vacuum of things going up into it. Whatever.
What's annoying too is that there's stuff in the suspension that I painted and cleaned and coated last year,
Mm-hmm.
and some of it has surface rust on it already from just it being a year of driving.
It's New England.
That's kind
You know
of
what doesn't happen?
It did.
Phoenix.
Yeah. The car depresses me how rusty it is because it does run real well.
So you just need to move to Phoenix.
No, that's about it for project cars.
I did actually get the corner marker for the Starion too. So if I do have time to slap that car together just enough to get it driving,
Yeah.
we might be able to bring that to Redwood too.
It's real low though.
Real low on the priority list, but if everything goes according to plan with the Eclipse,
Yeah.
and I have all day Friday to just slam that thing together, it might happen.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get plates for it, but I can get some Arizona temp tags for it.
Yeah.
See what I can do.
Oh yeah. We went to Scale Project Car updates. We can call it Scale Project Car updates. We stopped. You brought me to the store in Phoenix that only sells Hot Wheels is a UPS, like a USPS or FedEx,
It's a weird place.
It's a pack and ship place.
It's called Cubbyhole Collectibles.
Yeah.
It's a weird place. They have tons and tons and tons of Hot Wheels. They have something like 60,000 Hot Wheels in stock.
There's 60,000.
Yeah, that's what they claim.
Whoa.
Yeah, but they also have a bunch of other diecast stuff.
But you asked the guys for specific ones, they knew where they were
Yeah.
without
Yeah.
looking things up.
Well, in fairness, the one I asked for was a pretty well sought after piece.
But still, they were yeah, that
I wasn't
one's
you
here.
have that 1985 release of the Poison Pinto with the it wasn't like that. It was I wanted one that's fairly
I
common.
don't know. They knew.
No, they did for sure.
It was super cool store, super
Yeah.
well laid out.
What's also really neat about it, well, it's funny because I first found that store before I moved to Phoenix,
Mm-hmm.
and it was owned by a different person,
Mm-hmm.
and he was trying to sell the store, but it was a typical the guy was like Doc Brown, he was really absent-minded. You took your life into your hands walking in there because you were tripping over things the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
There were 3 dogs running around that you're also tripping over, and it was just absolute chaos in the store. And those people, the 2 guys that run it now, bought the store from this guy, and they organized the entire tens of thousands of Hot Wheels cars by manufacturer. So, you want Ford, it's over on this rack. Oh, you want the Chevys, they're over on this rack.
Right.
And they put those glass display cabinets all around the edge of the store. And the cool thing is if you have a bunch of old diecast stuff, you can rent the cabinet from them,
Mm-hmm.
and you can sell your cars at their store too.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a neat, they take 10% off the top, which isn't a huge number. It's a fairly reasonable amount, I think, to handle your stuff for you. And all your stuff's behind glass, locked up, and they have to open it up for you. So, actually, one of those cabinets, the one that had all the cool Tomica and Japanese stuff in
Yeah.
it, belongs to, he goes on Instagram by the Toy Pimp. His name is Jeff.
Yeah, I think I've seen it.
He goes to all of the Southern California and Arizona shows to sell his stuff, but he sells stuff right there in the store. So
Yeah, it's cool.
it's really neat.
Oh, and I almost forgot for Real Car Project updates. Before we went there, we had some time on Monday. We went to a pick and pull yard. Just a random pick and pull yard.
Oh yeah.
Because it's like literally blocks of junkyards.
Yep.
Like there's a whole like it's
like
almost like a neighborhood of
it's like
Phoenix
a
that's
5 by 5 block, a 5 mile by 5 mile block of junkyards.
Yeah.
It's,
We just picked a random one.
Yeah.
To
I
just
picked the one that I went to last time because I knew it was pretty well laid out.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you want
you pick, you pull Phoenix.
Yeah. It was pretty cool because it's like $2 to just walk in.
Yep.
Um.
What I like about it is it's very well organized.
Right.
So you have a whole section of SUVs. All the cars are up on steel wheels that are welded together.
I like that everything, no matter what it is, it's like a category has a price.
Right. So whether you're buying a headlight for a 75 Dodge Colt or a 2011 Mercedes, all headlights are $35.
Well, it'd be dumb to buy one for a Colt because it's a regular sealed beam.
You know what I'm
You
saying?
could buy one for $7.
But no, you could buy the whole assembly,
Oh,
which has
okay.
like the mount and the,
Yeah.
and the trim ring and everything for
Yeah.
the same money as one for an 05. But what I'm saying is that
like a
it's-
xenon headlamp.
it makes it real convenient because it's like, oh, you wanted the cluster out of that Montero.
Yeah.
And
So
you're like, oh, I wonder how much it's going to charge me. I was like, I don't know. I'll go on their website. And on their website, it's like, oh, instrument cluster, $20.
yeah.
No matter what it is, it's $20.
Yeah. So I got because the tack and the fuel gauge doesn't work on my Montero.
Mm-hmm.
So this one was a 96 with 200 and something thousand miles on it,
Right.
like almost 300,000. You can pull the tack out of the cluster, which is what I'm going to do.
Right.
The gauges all come out of it. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't.
Yeah.
I don't know. For $20, it was worth a shot.
Yeah.
And then jinx. And then I grabbed the cluster. It had the extra gauges because
Do you think it's a really good idea to jinx your podcast co-host?
I don't know.
I mean, I'm not supposed to talk now, technically. That was a wicked throwback right there. But if I followed the rules, we have to sit here in silence in our radio format while you went out and bought me a Coke. Like, that's the rule right now. Like, that was a bad idea.
Whatever. Yeah. So I bought the compass. Mine's all like burned up. So
Right.
that one looked good. I don't know. Try them out.
Yeah, we checked in the back for toolkit. Didn't have one.
No. That goes pretty quick.
Yeah. Actually, I was pretty stoked because I have been looking for a coolant expansion tank
Oh yeah.
for one of my Colts, which is the same across like every Mitsubishi from the early 70s through the early 90s. I just don't have any, and they had a 1981 Plymouth Arrow
Pickup.
Plymouth Arrow pickup, which has the same expansion chamber on it. So I was like, oh, I need that.
A lot of
It was
action on that
It was $5.
On social media, people were really into it.
Yeah, people didn't know a Plymouth Arrow pickup existed, which
Yeah.
is pretty funny.
And then people who knew they existed were like, really?
Where
into
is it? I need parts. Yeah.
All right, go here.
I was like, yeah, one guy who is in like, I don't know, Canada or something was like, yeah, I need a bedside. And I was like, I'm not getting a bedside off that and shipping it to Canada for you. I'm sorry.
No.
If you're like, hey, I needed the door handle, I'll be, all right, I'll go back and I'll get a
Yeah.
door handle for you and ship it to you. But I'm not getting a bedside. That's for damn sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that yard was pretty cool. That was the one where that Colt was.
The Colt that I posted
Yeah.
about a month ago. Yep.
And then you showed me the pyramid of cars.
Yes.
And then the weird yard that has the, like, Eclipse GS just sitting on the top of the pile, the
But
red
the
one.
no gate, no phone numbers, no
Yeah,
no
the one
nothing.
mocking you.
It's like an overflow lot for somebody
Yeah.
else, and I don't know whose it is. And it has a red first-gen pop-up headlight Eclipse. It has all the parts that I needed just sitting there mocking me, and I can't figure out whose it is.
Yep.
There's also 3 E39 Gallants in that yard.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I really want to find out whose yard it is so I can get in there. But,
Oh, and speaking of Gallants,
that's right too.
we
We
looked
did
up.
so much stuff we forgot what we did.
Yeah, we looked up.
Maybe
Well,
should have made this 2 shows of content.
yeah, whatever. We texted Josh Mead,
Adventure Driven Design, Josh.
and press on regardless on Instagram.
Yep.
And we went and visited his shop and all the Gallants they have over there. I think
Yeah.
they have all the VR4s.
Well, there's 4 Gallants. 3 are VR4s.
Yeah.
1 is a GSX.
Yeah.
1 is a full caged in-process rally car.
Yeah.
1 is a not sure what they're going to do with it. Oh, there were 5 Gallants there.
Yeah. They're basically they're an engineering company with a motorsports problem,
Yes.
I would say.
Yeah. Well, the gentleman who owns the company got a building big enough to house his whole company,
And then
and
all
then
his play
all
stuff.
his Gallants in the back.
Yeah. which is cool.
Gallants and like motorcycles.
Yeah, it was very, very cool.
But yeah, it's cool that we know them because that means anytime I have my Gallant out there in Arizona and I need parts,
Yeah.
I know where to get them.
Yeah.
Hey Josh, I need this. Oh yeah, it's on third shelf up.
Mm-hmm.
So
So yeah, that was a good time.
it's a hell of a few days.
I think that covers everything.
Yeah. Anything else you need to know? We covered on recording a podcast with Brian while we were there. So
Yeah. Yeah. So,
that
so
episode's already out, I assume.
it is out.
Yeah.
Um,
Also, thank you for people who have been giving me feedback when I said that part of the hardest thing about doing a podcast is that you don't hear from anybody, so you don't actually know if anybody's listening. And I got a couple messages from people saying like, "Hey, just let you know I'm still here."
oh, so then that was from that episode.
Yeah.
So they got you.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can email us at autoofftopic@gmail.com.
Which obviously I know that people listen to the show and do get feedback, but
You
it's
could
just-
slide into our DMs, Auto Off Topic Podcast on Instagram.
don't do that.
So stupid.
It is pretty stupid. We don't Netflix and chill though. We do the Motor Trend app and chill.
Yeah.
Motor Trend streaming and
You
chill.
gotta,
Well, Andrew lost it. Anyway, follow us, Auto Off Topic Podcast on Instagram, Auto Off
Yeah.
Topic on Facebook. They can find you at Raced and Anger on Instagram. And
Yep.
they can find me at TSISS350 on Instagram.
and as always, keep your guards analog and aim for the roses.